Boom, you are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. It is Thursday, the 4th of December, 2025. And yes, you are listening to the 50,000 watt blowtorch that cooks Mississippi with truth. And we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. And yes, we are streaming at WYAB.com. So if for some reason you can't pick up the signal, you can always get the stream. I would appreciate it, y'all, if you followed me on X. It's just Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. And who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Now, normally I come on here and say a gentle answer turns away wrath, harsh word incites anger. No, not today. Today, iron sharpens iron. So one man sharpens another. And we are going in hot. You know, the FBI has come out and said that they have put someone in custody for the J6 bombing. And we are going to talk about that today. I've reached out to our man, Chris Hinkle, honorably retired FBI field officer. He is going to call in sometime in the 10 o'clock hour. We don't know when, but when he does call in, we will go live with that. But we have to talk about it. And there are all sorts of other stories that we can talk about. We can talk about the Democrats and how they are now experts at identifying boats from military pictures, and they can tell what a fishing boat is. They can just tell. And they've got all the inside scoop on what's going on. We can talk about Minnesota and the Somali problem that they have up there, and how now their attorney general has been implicated with helping them siphon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of your taxpayer money to go not just back to Minnesota, but back to Somalia and El Shahab. Oh, Andy, I don't know what El Shahab is. You don't? That's Al Qaeda in Somalia. Do you know what Al Qaeda is? It's the base. For those of you who don't know what Al Qaeda stands for, it is the base. We can talk about disgraced U.S. Navy Captain Mark Kelly and how the more he opens up his trap, the bigger the hole he is digging. It's happening. And then, of course, we do have Candace Owens in Turning Point USA and what's going on there. I do want to get into that, not because I want that drama, but I just feel that sometimes I need to defend Turning Point and my friend Charlie, and I will. And last but not least, we have a little bit of input from that bastion of conservative thought, Phil Mickelson, the golfer. Yep, he's come out with a statement that came across my feed, and I'm like, you know what? I want to get me some of that. But we have to start with the FBI and who they have brought into custody. His name of now this is the name of the alleged shooter, and I'm getting this from multiple sources on X. It's trending on X. It's Mr. Brian Cole has been identified as the alleged pipe bomber of January 6th. They say that he's an anarchist from Virginia who is 33 years old at the time of arrest. Now, it's important for us to hold our own selves accountable and say this is not the same person that a very famous national talk show radio host put out there. The FBI is doing its job. And you and I, we all can agree that the FBI perhaps has not done what it should have done. Perhaps we can say that the FBI is slow, it's painful. As my good friend Junk says, I want my pound of flesh and I want it right now. Well, here we go. This is part of it. It's so hard for us as conservatives to be patient because we've been behind the 8 ball for so long. We have been literally under attack by the news media, the Democrats, whoever else, for so long. And we feel that we need to go out there and have some aggressive attack, whether that be the FBI arresting people, whether that be the Supreme Court, whether that be the Justice Department. We can go on and on and on about that. But for me personally, as someone who's been through the grinder, I can tell you that the wheels of justice turn slow. And I I truly get it. Um, I didn't even bring up the call-in line or the text line. I'll bring it up in the next segment, but I get it. I see all of you talking about how you want justice, how you want the conservatives, not even necessarily the Republicans, but the conservatives to go on the attack. But it's taken a little bit of time, and we just have to let the wheels of justice go. Go ahead, sir. You're on the air.
Hey, Andrew, it's Chris Hinkle.
Hey, brother Chris. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing fine. How are things going with you?
I am wonderful and blessed. The Sweet Bee and I celebrated our anniversary yesterday, went to Ely's, had a great time. I wake up this morning to the news that the FBI has arrested a suspect who they believe is implicated in the J6 bombing. And I immediately thought of you, my friend, because I know we've talked about this before, and we know the wheels of justice burn and churn slow. And I just wanted to get your opinion on this as an honorably retired FBI field agent. And the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, of course, my phone was blowing up this morning with
I believe it, sir.
text from fellow retirees and some of my connections in the media. I always take a breath when these things initially come out. I want to find out, more details. It's better to be right than to be first. But I have taken some of the information that I've received. I believe the name that's out there in the media right now is an individual named Brian Cole. And I did check in with a couple of my trusted sources who said they are hearing that same name, but they're waiting on the presser this afternoon with Cash Patel and Dan Bongino to provide additional details. But it's going to be interesting to see the response of some of the people that were reporting information in the media, like The Blaze. Steve Baker's a reporter for The Blaze. Some of these podcasters out there that were pointing fingers at a former Capitol police officer. That's going to be interesting to see how they reconcile that. I can't provide any legal advice on whether or not there's any type of, any type of lawsuit or anything. Mm-hmm. But it will be interesting to see if the information that they had turns out not to be accurate, and how they respond. Are they going to come out and say, yep, we were wrong, we just reported the best information that we had at the time? Or are they going to double down on it? That will be interesting to see how that part plays out. But as of right now, you've got multiple news sources out there reporting this individual's been taken into custody this morning, and that the name that we're hearing is Brian Cole.
I completely agree with everything you said, Chris. And, since the time I've met you and since the time that we've started talking, you've always been on this side of let the people do their job, let the FBI go in and do their job. We know we are not necessarily happy with the speed of how this is moving, but I think people forget that not only is the FBI having to go back and actually do all this work, but they're actually having a new set of leadership come in, and things are having to be moved behind the scenes. And I think this gives the FBI some credibility here, saying, look, we know what we're doing. We know it takes time, but we're going to get to where we need to be. We just have to follow the process and the systems that we have in place to make sure that we get the right person the first time,
Yeah. Well, you've heard me speak out against people like Chris Wray and the prior leadership of the FBI. I felt like at times they dropped the ball on investigations, such as the attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania, of the president. I was on air on Newsmax and other radio stations commenting on how it didn't appear that Chris Wray took it seriously enough, that they took ownership of the entire investigation. It seemed like he compartmentalized that. I don't know if that was done on purpose or just through incompetence. But the thing that is very difficult to do is when an investigation has been conducted by someone else and it is not done well, or they've missed steps, is after a significant period of time trying to go back and put that thing back together. Because what ends up happening is witnesses that you would have talked to immediately over time, gaps in memory get filled in with information from other sources. They fill in blanks with what they imagine. You don't get the actual story. There's also whether or not they were able to go back and compile physical information, such as, doing the geofencing around DC at the time. Hopefully that information was gathered with all of the cell phone activity that was going on at the time. And then you have to bring in analysts to go through that. And that's a laborious task. It takes a lot to do this stuff. So I commend them that they kept quiet about it. They didn't go out and get into confrontations with Blaze Media or others that were out there reporting information that they may have felt wasn't beneficial to the investigation or was inaccurate. They took the time to say, we're going to report when we have positive information. We're not going to spend our time out here trying to counter conspiracies and narratives. We're just going to tell you what we know when we know it.
I think that is so important. And, Chris, I'm just being truthful with you. I'm guilty of that myself. Sometimes, I immediately want to drop the hammer and come out and just go full bore on it. But I think that this shows that there are competent people, good people at the FBI trying to do their job. They just have to be empowered, set forth to go forth and conquer and do the job that we ask them to do. Am I saying they're perfect? No, but I'm saying in this instance, the patience has truly paid off. And I'm grateful and thankful that we have men and women at the FBI who apparently have figured this out. I don't think the FBI would just come out and do this and make such a grand statement like this if they didn't have the receipts per se behind to back it up.
Yeah, it's now I'm not saying that the FBI, even under Cash Patel and Dan Bongino, is not making mistakes. I've not been shy about saying that Cash and Dan weren't on my list of individuals that I would have seen running the FBI, nor Andrew Bailey, the former Attorney General out of, I think it was Missouri. If they are moving the ball in the right direction, I will do everything I can to praise in public, but behind the scenes, add some polish.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll mention those polished things in the media. Some of them, for example, I think Cash Patel spends way too much time on social media, and I think he spends way too much time not wearing a suit.
Agreed.
I think you need to look apart. I am impressed with the way that the FBI has responded to this. It seems like they've taken, the task at hand with the information that they had. It'll be interesting to see what happens from this press conference this afternoon. I'll be listening in, and hopefully we'll get some information. I'm actually headed to a luncheon now where there's likely to be a number of current FBI agents and leadership, and I'll try to consult with them to see if there's any information that they can share. But obviously they wouldn't share any sensitive information from the investigation with me. They would share what they would normally share with the public. And that's where I do have a problem with some of these people out there. You've got some individuals, some former FBI agents that were disgruntled. Some of them were actually justly fired from the FBI, and they're doing everything they can to undermine trying to move the ball forward. I've been reluctant to say a lot of negative things in the media because I don't want to give those individuals fodder. I want the FBI restored to the way it was when I joined it back in the 90s. I want them to be the premier investigative agency in the world. I think that they're moving toward that. Could they have moved moved that ball a little faster. I think there's some other people that could have done that, but I am going to do what I can to support Cash Patel and Dan Bongino when they do things right. And I think not going out in knee-jerk reaction to some of the media reporting that was out there, even if they knew that it was wrong, you don't want to do anything to hinder the investigation.
I couldn't agree more, Chris. And I am so grateful and thankful for the few minutes that you gave us today at WYAB. I know you're a busy guy. Your phone is clearly going to be busy all day. And brother, thank you for giving us your opinion and how you see things on this. And I really appreciate you not only as a guest host here on WYAB, but also as a friend of mine. I consider you a friend. And brother, thank you so much.
Well, if those of you will tune in on Newsmax, a friend of mine, fellow retiree John Nance, will be speaking there about any of the updates and the things that he hears.
Awesome. And real quick, Chris, where can people find you?
You can always find me on X at capital B, capital F Conservative, all one word, BF Conservatives. Easiest way to find me. We post a podcast up there. I think I've still got the podcast from the last time I guest hosted on your show is still up there. It's doing well. We're approaching about 2,000 views, 10,000 awesome. Impressions on it. So kudos to you guys at WYAB, and thank you for the opportunity allowing me to sit in from time to time.
Amen, Chris. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. All right, my man?
You too, brother.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Chris Hinkle, retired FBI agent or field officer, honorably retired. And, you know, how great is it that we in Mississippi have somebody with the experience and the knowledge of Chris Hinkle living right here? We are blessed to have him here. And, you know, I don't know what the future holds for Chris, but whatever it is, I'm going to be following along anxiously. And I'm grateful and thankful to call him a friend. Look, I know I went a little bit long in the first segment, but I knew we were going to have Brother Chris in, and we're grateful for that. So we're going to take our first break. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah, only in America. This is the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. And while we are in America, broadcasting out of America, we are worldwide streaming online. And look, if you want to be on the show today, if you disagree with my enthusiasm of what's going on inside the FBI with respect to the J6 investigation, call up. Let's talk about it. 601 879 0002. Text line is blowing up 601 879 5060. I'm being very truthful with you all. My phone is not as busy as Chris Hinkle's is, but this is one of the days where I cannot literally keep up. My phone is literally just blowing up, and um, I appreciate it. I will read everyone. I'll try to respond to as many of you as I can, but I want to continue on this FBI announcement with the J6 apprehension of the J6 uh, bomber who is not found guilty, but he is in custody. And there's going to be a press conference today at 12 noon Eastern, 12 noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, and that'll be something to definitely follow. And I know that we'll be keeping up to date on that on here on WYAB with Lindsay and the Lindsay show on Lindsay's show. So getting back to the J6, and I've got people coming in, and Brother Junk, he's sitting there saying 5 years to arrest the pipe bomber, but 2 months to arrest hundreds of J6ers. Well, that just goes to show you how crooked the left was and how they weaponized the FBI. Meanwhile, you look at once there was a change of leadership inside the FBI, it took about a year to get through, but you've got to realize there's internal inertia, number one, inside any government organization, whether it be the FBI, the United States Air Force, the United States Navy, the Department of Defense. You know, things just don't change so quickly. And this just goes to show you what we're up against in Washington, D.C. The swamp is big and it is deep in areas. And there are gators out there, monsters that need to be slain, but they're laying low. We can't see them. And they're out there, but we are slowly making progress. I'm optimistic. A lot of my close friends say, Andy, sometimes, you're too optimistic. And they might be right. And if I'm wrong with all of this, by all means, I will own it. I will come on these airwaves and I will own it. But I don't think I'm out of line for being a little bit exuberant because the FBI is doing its job. And when I hear subject matter experts who have been in this business since the 90s, like Chris Hinkle, talk about, hey, this is what's going on. And look, Chris dialed it back a little bit. You could hear it. Um, and we can all talk about the things that have gone wrong in the FBI since Dan Bongino, since Kash Patel took over. But I can tell you, as someone who has been part of a takeover of an organization, especially when they've been in power for over 5 decades, and they've got their people everywhere, it takes time to do that. In 4 years, we were able to root out a lot of it, but we still had to have yet another change, not because I wasn't doing a bad job, but sometimes you just take the ball as far as you can take it and then you hand it off. And you don't make what's going on about yourself, you make it about the organization, whether that be the FBI or Algonquin Township Road District. It's just how it works. And we as Americans, we've got a lot to talk about today. This is a really big story. I was going to lead in on the Venezuelan boat scandal and what's going on with Senator Mark Kelly and all that, and we will get to that. We will get to that. But I think with this story, with what's happening in DC right now with the person in custody, it's not that we're taking a victory lap, but we know the wheels of justice are grinding. Brother Dogfish texted in, he goes, I thought they said the pipe bomber was a female. Nope. That was what was reported by the Blaze, Glenn Beck's organization. And apparently, well, it's not apparent. Well, apparently, if you look at everything that's going on right now, Brother Glenn and his news organization were wrong. And, maybe Glenn and his news organization were fed some information by somebody and they went with it. Or maybe they got a little bit overzealous. I don't know. But what I will say is that at 12 o'clock today, our time, there's going to be a news conference. And we will find out a lot more. And in this moment, I think it's important that we are helpful. And it's funny because Brother Rick, I've got him on an alert. So when he texts me, it kind of pops up, and he says, "You're wrong, brother. Comey walked, James walked, Clinton walked, Clapper walked. Dan wrote a book laying out the crimes. What do they do when they have to put their cases together? Dude, we are talking headshots and looking back with split. Well, I won't get into that word, brother. Don't text me like that and use a saying like that. Hook a brother up." But he's right. There's all these people who have walked, but doesn't mean that they've walked. We just haven't got there yet. This reminds me of what I would say is the most misunderstood, most anticipated word, the the word that gets most misconstrued in the Bible, and that is the word soon. What is soon? Is soon a week, a month, a year, a decade, a century, a millennial, a generation? What is soon for you and I might not be soon for somebody else, but what I will say is that we're having progress. We're getting there. And I'm not saying we're going to have the best results with this FBI. I'm not saying that they're going to get everything right, but man, the fact that we actually were able to use our technology to go back and find this guy is a great thing. And there will be much more news. And as that news becomes available, I promise to pass it along to you. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah, we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show. Look, if you want to call in, the number is 601 879 0002. If you just want to continue to blow up the text line, that's great too. 601 879 5060. I am reminded that there are 334 days till the midterm. And all I'm going to say about that is control what you can control. That is rule 2 of politics. It's rule 2 of life, really. Control what you can control. I can't control what's going to happen in the midterm. I got Benny Thompson. I know Ron Eller is running for Congress again, and he will face Benny Thompson, and that's where my vote's going to be. And I'm going to control what I can control in my little area. And God's given me this microphone. Brother Matt's allowed me to get on here. I will use that too. But I am not going to sit here and worry and be concerned about stuff that I don't have control over. You know, all of these congressional districts where President Trump won, that are purple districts per se. I'm not going to worry about the purple district in Michigan. I'm just not. I'm going to use my brain bites, what I've got left, to make sure that I have maximum impact right here locally in Mississippi, and that's what I want to do. There are people saying the FBI knew who this pipe bomber was days, if not hours, after the bombs were discovered. Brother, I don't doubt that a bit. I think that there could possibly be people inside the FBI who knew what was going on, not just from what they discovered, but they might have actually had even more intimate knowledge and data about what was going on. But we also know that there were rooms in the FBI's with bags full of evidence that were just locked away that nobody knew. We know that that's there. So what are we to do? Are we to sit there and say everything, throw the baby out with the bathwater and just start over? That might be a thing. But in this case, I am thankful and grateful that the FBI got it. And I hope, like Chris said, they have the geofencing with all the cell phone data. If they've got that, then things are going to turn out okay. They're going to know who was where, who knew what. They'll be able to go look at all that. But let's look at that from a different angle. The FBI has all that geofencing information and data. That means that your anxiety device, your cell phone, I'm holding it up to the camera right now, it's listening to you, it's tracking you. You might even be so silly to have one of those, what I call a Blue Force tracker, that tracks your move so that your family knows where you're at. It tells how fast you're driving. It can tell you what app you're using. There is no secrecy in modern day America anymore. And we've just now figured out that, hey, not only can we use this stuff for good stuff, but those of us who've been enlightened and been following this for a while realize that we really have no privacy. We do so much through our cell phone. So, the FBI is going to continue to do its thing. There are going to be lots of stuff going on X. Believe what you want. Don't believe the other stuff that you don't want to believe. But I have to talk about Grip and Grin yesterday. And for this story, I am going to the most, and if you can't hear the sarcasm here, then I don't know what to tell you. The most trusted name in journalism in Mississippi today. That is Mississippi Today. People protest deep South immigration crackdown as Governor Reeves speaks at Madison restaurant. No, they can't say that it was Grip and Grin. They can't say that it was Mama Hamels. Nope, they sit there and they just kind of hide and distract everything. And they do post a picture, and I am great grateful for that picture. Do you know why? I don't see one brother or one sister out there. You know what they are? A bunch of Karens. These Karens are either A, never had to work a day in their life because they've had husbands who had a good job and they could sit at home and do whatever they wanted to do, or two, they're already retired and they've got nothing better to do. And we all know that these Karens are on patrol in your HOA, in your park district, in whatever fashion that you want to say, they're out there protesting. And here's the truth, and I'm not being racist or hateful or anything. This illegal immigration impacts the black community more than the white. It's just a fact. It hurts because there are people who are supporting these Karens out there who they're hurting their own self-interest. They're hurting their own communities. Brother William talks about it all the time. It is, and of course they want to bring up Jesus, and they in the news organization make sure to remind us all that Jesus was a refugee. I have to think about that for a little bit because Jesus was born in Nazareth, had to flee to Egypt, came back, and did what he did. And I don't get to go to those anymore. I love going to it. I think Mama Hamlet's got great food. I love the people there. And there's a lot of people who don't agree with me, and I don't agree with them. But you know what? We can smile, we can shake hands, we can talk about the things we agree with, we can talk about the things we didn't agree with, and we can have that friendship, kind of like what Charlie was trying to do when he was martyred. And if I was there, I would have gone out with these ladies, and I would have just started asking them why they think the way they think. I would have tried to figure it out. Not that I could have. I think a lot of these people are just so infected with Trump derangement syndrome that they're not going to be able to function appropriately. But you got this lady sitting out there with ice with the big X, and she's smiling. You got another lady waving and happy, and you got the pink hand lady. You got all Andy, you need to share this. Roger that. You guys are great. When you tell me, hey, you need something, I can make that happen. So if you go to Andrew Gosser on X right now, you can see that story. And that is all for you guys. We are excited that ICE is in Mississippi and they're going to start clearing stuff out. And do not be fooled, ladies and gentlemen, by these protesters. Do not be influenced by them. The mainstream media, which we know is full of garbage, they inflate themselves. They make themselves look big and look like something that they are not. And don't be fooled by this. There are more people who are here who support ICE in all the communities than those who are against it, even though these ladies right here are going to have their 15 minutes of fame. And we need to be hard on immigration. And when we get back, we're going to talk about Phil Mickelson. You're not going to want to miss this because this post that he made will really put everything into view. It's like a kaleidoscope when you're looking through it and all of a sudden it lines up just right. That's what's going to happen with this. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Hey, brother, you there? We're on break.
Hey there. Oh, you're on break. Okay.
Yep, but
right.
if you it's a 4-minute break, sir, and I'd love to have you on the radio, but I don't want to mislead you and have a conversation that people don't get to hear.
Well, all we're gonna say is you mentioned the mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
Our local media, the local stations, are part of that.
Yes.
Okay, and that needs to be stressed because they're getting off, let off hook. This is Brother JB. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but we need to focus on our local media. They don't investigate. They just follow the national line, whatever they put out on the national media, CBS or whatever. That's what they go with.
Yep.
And so we got to put them in the same category.
Brother, I completely agree. If you want to wait another 3 minutes, I'll put you on hold. And
No. I just wanted to share that. That's all.
Brother JB, thank you. Is it all right if I use your name when I go and talk about this?
That's fine. Yes, sir. All right.
Have a blessed day, man. Have a blessed day.
Yes, sir. You be blessed.
Yep,
All
yep.
right. Enjoy the show.
Mhm.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. You know, this show reaches all crevices and corners, all cultures in Mississippi. And I am so blessed and I am so thankful for you. Brother JB called in and said, it's just not the national mainstream media that is corrupt and dropping the ball. He told me that it's the local news media. And we have to be truthful about it. Our local news media drops the ball all the time. And they carry they carry the water just like the mainstream media, national mainstream media does. I'm not going to say they carry as much water, but they carry their fair share of the water. So everything that you look at when it's coming from these national and local mainstream news sites, you've got to be skeptical. You've got to actually go in and look at what they're saying. Brother JB is exactly right. And we're talking about immigration. And I was talking about one of the most famous golfers in the 90s and early 2000s, Phil Mickelson, lefty, like my daughter. He says the United States is way too lenient on illegal immigration. I agree. These Karens who are out there protesting, they need to catch a plane and just go somewhere else. Singapore. What does Singapore do to somebody who is illegally in their country? Well, they're first put in jail for 6 months, and then at the end, they get caned. And then they get deported. Think about what if we said, you know what, if you're here in the United States illegally, we're going to arrest you, throw you in jail for 6 months, we're going to cane you, and then ship you out. Malaysia, 1 to 5 years in prison, caning, then deported. Don't be illegally immigrating to Malaysia. Qatar, 3 years in a Qatari prison, forced labor, then deportation. Russia, 2 years in prison, forced labor, then deportation. Hungary, 8 years in prison, then you're out of there. South Africa, 1 year. Japan, 3 years in prison, then you get deported. And then, of course, there is North Korea. Well, don't be trying to illegally immigrate into North Korea, because you know what they do? They don't jail you. They don't cane you. They figure out that you're there in their country illegally, and they just execute you. Am I saying that what's needed to be done in the United States? No. But what I am saying is we need to start enforcing our immigration laws so that we don't have to deal with some of the stuff we're dealing with. Brother JB is right. We need to go ahead and start holding our news media accountable so that we can get these illegal immigrants out, so we can start putting Americans back to work, Mississippians back to work here locally. Again, I'm not going to get all fired up of what's going on in Minnesota or Washington State or wherever. I care about us here in Mississippi. We're just getting fired up and started on the Andrew Gosser Show. When we get back, boy, we are going to go in hard on what's happening in Venezuela and the U.S. military. We will be right back. Boom. You are locked into the Andrew Gosser Show. Today is Thursday, the 4th of December, 2025, and we are rocking and rolling. We are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube, and we are streaming at WYAB.com. You can follow me on X at Andrew Gosser, ANDREWGASSER. Got a few more followers today. Thank you to everybody who's following me. I appreciate it. Look, we are not only streaming, but we are blasting out on our 50,000 watt blowtorch all across Mississippi. We're cooking. We're cooking. And if you want to be part of the cooking crew, you want to be part of the brigade, the number is to call in is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. And who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. You are the ones out there on the front lines in your community, talking to neighbors, talking to friends, influencing your culture locally. And you have to have the knowledge and the information. And look, I said this in the last hour. I'm saying in this hour too. A lot of times I say, and it's true, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word, it incites anger. But not today, because today we are going full Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And I'm going to try to do that today to the best of my ability. In the first hour, we talked about the J6 pipe bomber guy being arrested. And that's not my wheelhouse. That is Chris Hinkle's wheelhouse. And it was such an honor and a blessing to have him on the radio show today to go ahead and educate and inform us all and get his perspective as a honorably retired FBI agent. But we got to talk about what's going on in Venezuela with these drug runners coming north, deploying the United States Navy. And ladies and gentlemen, we have experts on the line that we can get, but I'm going to kind of defer myself a little bit and talk about this because I really feel that we are close to turning a corner. There is so much out there that's happening, and the mainstream news media simply can't control it all. They can't control it all. And every chance I get to make sure that I can show you how screwed up those people are, I'm going to do that. And this is a minute and 22 of sound from Fox News. And let's just listen to it together. Make sure the sound is right. And we are going to make sure that we comment on this because this perfectly frames what's going on in Venezuela with our U.S. military, and we are going to go from there.
Tonight, new information. According to a source familiar with the incident, the two survivors climbed back onto the boat after the initial strike. They were believed to be potentially in communication with others and salvaging some of the drugs. Because of that, it was determined they were still in the fight and valid targets. A JAG officer was also giving legal advice.
This backs up the entire second strike. Yes, I mean, it doesn't.
Before Stephen Miller starts cooking, that was ABC. And what really, that lady, she sounds horrible. You don't want to listen to her. You just, but makes your hair curl. But when she said the JAG was in the room, that right there is going to cause everything else to either A, fall on the JAG, or B, it's all legal. But I want to know the rank of the JAG. I want to know which JAG it was. Was it the JAGs that support the Secretary of War? Was it the JAGs that support the chief of the Armed Services chief? Was it the JAG that is supporting the combatant commander down in the AOR, the area of responsibility? But the JAGs were there. And I told you on this show, I'm not bragging, but I'm just telling you, I knew it. because I've been through it. And this is all a house of cards that is going to just come back piling down on all these people saying, oh, this is they did something illegal. No, let's just listen. Stephen Miller, my brother, cook.
Get more crystal clear than that. The mission is take out the boat, stop the drugs, keep this vessel and its cargo from reaching our shore using lethal means. And our amazing military, the heroes of the United States Armed Forces, did exactly that. President Trump, Secretary Hegseth, and this entire government are committed to finally using our military to defend our people, our borders, our family, our culture, our history, our heritage, to defend the United States. We're not going off running around the Middle East trying to build democracies in caves and deserts and in distant sands that have never known democracy. We're using the military to protect American security, American prosperity, American lives right here where we live, where our children live.
And brother, I couldn't say it any better myself. I don't think there's too many people who could say it better. And you know, that last part of what Stephen Miller said, we're not overseas in the middle of Southwest or Southeast Asia trying to bring democracy to a people in caves who don't want democracy. You don't want the freedom? You don't want liberty? That's fine. Let's get the heck out of there. You guys all go fight over here. You're bringing these guys on these boats are bringing in drugs that are poisoning and killing your children, my family. They're coming after us. I have friends who have kids who have died from fentanyl overdose. Yeah. And if we can blow these sons of guns up in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, do it. And you've got these Democrats and one or two Republicans who are saying, we've got to look at all this. Well, you know what? Let's look at it. And the Jags are all there and they're saying, hey, we were here. We advised. The attack continued. There is nothing wrong with that. If I could make one suggestion to the Secretary of War and to the president, it would simply be this. And I'm just a retired captain, Air Battle Manager 13 Bravo. Instead of using those smaller SDBs or Hellfires, let's go in with 1,000-pound laser guided bombs. Let's go in with those 500-pounders. And that way, when they hit, you don't have to worry about guys jumping back onto the boat. That sucker is going to sink so fast. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the effects of a 500-pound bomb, but I have. And one of the best examples I can give, this would have been 1995, the USS America CV-66 in Carrier Air Wing 1. We were off the coast of Sarajevo, right there. And there was that joker out there who was causing all sorts of problems. And we said, come to the boat. We're going to put on an air show for you. And these guys showed up. It was Admiral Katz, who was the carrier group commander. And he had the chairs out there. Like, we had to get these comfy chairs. I'm like, they're not lazy boys, but they were really comfortable. And we're literally launching jets off the flight deck. And then we set up all these rows of chairs for these international dignitaries, generals, presidents, whatever the heck they were. And we sit them all down. And all of a sudden, we're sitting there talking, they're talking, and an F-14 in full afterburner flies right over the flight deck at about 600 feet. It was so low, the boom hit us, it like shook everything. It was insane. Scared the heck out of everybody if you didn't know. And those of us who were on the flight, we knew, but we could watch the dignitary. They all jumped and we're all sitting there laughing. I'm like, we got you. We had A6E intruders, VA-85, loaded to the hilt with bombs. And they dropped a live 500-pound bomb off the port side of the ship. And we could feel the wave hit us. I remember it as clear as day. Then they had another A6 completely loaded, and I can't remember. I wasn't an A6 guy, but it was either 24 or 26 500-pound bombs. If you're an A6 bub out there, enlighten me. But they did a complete rack drop right off the side of the ship. They dropped all 24 or 26 pounds, and you could just feel like your body was like shaking, like you were getting shot. You could feel the hits, and I mean, it was incredible. But then the star of the show, was it the F-14? Nope. Was it the A6? Nope. And the 18 FA-18s, you guys just go back because you're just tinker toys, and we ain't talking about F-18Cs. Nope. The A6 with two 2,000-pound bombs flew right over the flight deck of the USS America and loft bombed two 2,000-pound bombs. And those things flew, and like the guy's narrating it, and he says the bombs have been released, and you could see the bombs kind of leave the airplane, the A6, and then you didn't hear anything, and the A6 peels off. Professional aviators. I mean, it was so cool. And about 45 seconds later, you could see the two explosions. And about 2 seconds after that, those things rocked the ship. And I was like, man, I won't say what I said, but I'll tell you what, I was like, I don't want none of that smoke. And I will tell you what, as soon as those guys went back to their country, things quieted down real quick. Real quick, my friends. I was there. Don't tell me I don't know what I was there. Just everything calmed down. And it is a disgrace, not to America or not to the people of America, but it is a disgrace to those individual congressmen and senators who are out there causing all this dissension within the ranks. You know, there may come a day where we really need Congress to stand up and do something. And we're just going to look at these clowns, these jokers who are sitting there saying, oh, I don't think we should have bombed that. These people are the Monday morning quarterbacks who need to take their Geritol before they go to pretend to play quarterback. They have no clue. And I'm even saying about some of those people who have, quote unquote, using their military service to say they know what the hell they're talking about. I can't believe them. Because all the people who I know have served and who have either been pushing the pickle button or pulling the trigger, none of us are agreeing with what they're saying. And it's not like there are some of us who are Republicans, or we're all Republicans. There are liberals, there are Democrats, there are conservatives, and we're all saying the same thing. You know, we all served honorably. We genuinely care for the services that we served. And for me, everybody's like, Andy, you're talking Air Force and Navy. Yes, I enlisted in the Navy when I was 16, and I became an Air Force officer at age 27. 2 services. DD 214 available upon request. And I'm telling you, what these congressmen and these senators are doing in Washington, D.C., you know, it just doesn't make them look like an idiot. It is hurting morale. And to everybody who's serving, whether you be active duty, National Guard, reservist, whatever it is, thank you. Know that the people of the United States of America respect you. We respect the work you do. We respect the sacrifice that not only you make, but your family makes to have you go downrange so that you can conduct the business of the United States of America. And we don't need these yahoos causing dissension. And you know what? I saw the bomb hit. I was like all for it. You know what? If they were a combatant, well, that's a whole nother thing. We're going to take a quick break. And when I get back, we're going to talk about enemy combatants, terrorists, and what kind of protections people get depending on what status they're in. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Andy, you're a little bit fired up there. I am. I am fired up when the people we elect to represent us in Washington, D.C. are ripping the country apart using any tool that they have, whether it be law enforcement or our military or whatever else. Like those Karens sitting over at Mama Hamill's protesting the governor and trying to claim Jesus would tell them to do that. I'm over it. I'm just over the left. And I really want to talk about how they're trying to go after the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Major Pete Hegseth, United States Army, who went overseas, who led a company in combat. Wasn't special forces, never claimed to be, but he's out there doing the work. And you've got some of these weaklings, these journalists who couldn't make it 6 hours, sitting there from their perch, their ivory tower, complaining about stuff. And I saw something today that one of the journalists wrote, and I got it from Ground News. I can't find it again. But what really got to me in their story was how they put the information and then the classification. Top secret, secret, no foreign, or top secret, no foreign. And they just put, for me, you know, and military bubbas, we, in the Air Force, we called it the vault. In the Navy, it was just CVIC. It was the intelligence room. You did not sit there and talk about that kind of stuff outside the vault, outside CVIC. You use that information in your mission planning and whatever it is, but you didn't do that. And now they're coming out and talking about stuff that wasn't in the signal message, but other stuff. And now they're trying to tie it all together. No. Now, to be fair to those journalists, and this is just Andrew Gosser talking, if it was me and I had to discuss something, I am not putting it anywhere on my personal cell phone or even my government cell phone. And I would be very, very skeptical of using a third-party vendor like Signal. But we've already gone down this road. We've already hashed it out. Why are we doing it again? That whole story with Signal is a non-starter. And here it is. Watchdog finds Hegseth, risked it all. And a bunch of it. And it's got, I'm looking for a big news source. It's all of these third world countries. There's no Associated Press. There's no nothing. I'm on the third page. Fourth page. I finally got the BBC, but I'm not going to click on the BBC because they're not good. But here we got the USA Today. Let's go there. Hegseth signal chats could have endangered troops. We don't know if it did or not, but you know what we do know? The mission was successful. We do know that nobody was hurt. We do know that a journalist who was included on that decided to make a story out of it. Look, if something comes in my email, or if, God forbid, it ever happens to you, just take my advice on this. Don't forward it. Just shut it down and go to the FBI and say, this just came in. And you let them handle that. What this journalist did, it's just like a politician when there's an issue coming down the pipe and they know it's going to pass and they know it's going to do good. So they get out there and they pretend like they're the leader. And that's what this guy's doing right here. And I'm frankly sick of it. I'm sick of these reporters getting away with posting classified information and then trying to blame our troops and our Secretary of War. And I'm sitting here. It says a Pentagon watchdog. Who is the Pentagon watchdog? It doesn't say. It says from inside. It's so nebulous. The watchdog found that Higgs's use of personal cell phone violated the Pentagon policy, but maintained he had the power as the defense secretary to declassify the information he shared. According to the report, as it was described to the USA Today. What I want to know is who is describing this. Because from day one of boot camp, day one of officer training school, loose lips sink ships. And it is just about time we as Americans say, you know what? We are going there. We're fighting the war. That journalist should have never been in there. And quite frankly, whoever set that group up, there needs to be accountability there. But I'm telling you, they're making a mountain. And of course, the news media is trying to make a meal out of this, tying in Venezuela, everything that's happening there, and trying to make our military look silly. And they're not. These are professional men and women who have dedicated years of their life in service to this country. And you've got this journalist here trying to sell a paper. The reports were described to multiple news outlets before their release, including CNN, losers, Politico, losers, CBS, losers, Associated Press, losers. And they continue to just go on and go through all this. And I'm just telling you, our boys and girls who are doing the business down there, they're doing a good job. The admiral's not going to lead them astray. The Secretary of War is not going to lead them astray. We're going to go after the people who are sending this toxin, these drugs that are killing our kids. And we're going to blow them up in the frickin' water. And they're either going to die instantly or they might drown. But they shouldn't be sitting here on these high-speed boats driving these drugs into the United States. And then the audacity of ABC to say that these were fishing boats. I've never seen fishing boats operating like that. Hauling butt like that. No gear with fishing. There are no masks for the fishing nets, no places for a fishing pole. Oh, Andy, you just can't see. I've got two eyes. They put the video out there. And they're sitting there hot dogging, trying to sit there, make themselves look good. I'm grateful to everybody who's down there serving, and to these journalists. There's a special place for you, and you're going to get there one day. In the work that you're doing isn't helping anybody. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah, welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. You know, I want to take a minute, and we've been talking about all this serious stuff, and it needs to be talked about. But there are other things that are going on in this world that I find interesting and that we should talk about. We should have knowledge on. Satellites may blind space telescopes by 2035, scientists say. And you're like, huh? You know, we know from if you're looking up at the night sky, you can see Starlink flying around. You can see satellites zooming through the air. If you don't have any ground light pollution on our farm, the sweet bee, Toots, and we will actually drive out at night into a spot on our farm, and we can look up, and there's no light. There's no light pollution, and we can just see all the stars, and it's beautiful and it's glorious. But people are worried that by 2035, we won't have that same ability. In fact, it is saying reflected light from these satellites could also affect our major space-based telescopes like SphereX, and it's got another ESA type of telescope there. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. You guys are all great followers of the show. I appreciate it all, but when it comes to me and crazy names, I hose it up. But this just gives us the opportunity to build space-based telescopes like the James Webb Space Telescope and put it further out in space. Hubble is great. Spitzer is great. If you know what the Spitzer Space Telescope is, it's a space telescope that's in low Earth orbit. Or geosynchronous orbit, excuse me. It's out there. It's in space, floating around like Hubble, but it's further out. And we need more telescopes. We need to continue to push that technology. And NASA is concerned about it. And I think it's great that we're worried about that. There's all sorts of new technologies and new companies that can go up there and get the old satellites and deorbit them. There's that possibility. This just came up. This was sent to me by unknown user. I think they go to the same news places I go. But this is coming from the Daily Mail. Firebrand Democrat Jasmine Crockett refusing to pay $3,000 in condos bills while lavishly vast sums on luxury hotels. Why is it that these politicians, and I am not just saying Democrats, we can include Republicans. I'm not just saying black, but I'm saying white. I'm not just saying females, but I'm saying males too. Why is it that these people, once they get elected, they act like they own the place? It's absolutely infuriating, and we need people in Congress who are going to actually go do work done and not stir the pot. The firebrand Democrat has owed $3,047.79 to the West Side Condominium Association for over a year, and now she has a lien on it. And then they post a picture of her in a nice dress and whatever. Someone did some investigation, and so far this year, the Progressive has spent over $25,000 in campaign funds for travel alone. I don't necessarily have a problem with her spending her own campaign funds the way she wants to do it. If she wants to be like that, that's fine. I think it's foolish. She might be spending like a drunk sailor in port, but number one, don't blame the drunk sailors in port because they've earned that money. But she might be realizing that she is not going to be around in Congress, and she's got all this money. She's potentially running for senator. She spent in crazy $27,000 on limo service, $2,300 on car service, another $1,250 on another limousine service, And you can all go find this. If you really want to know about a politician, you can go to the election commission, whether that be the national or the Secretary of State right here. Secretary White will sit there and hook that up for you. Michael Watson, not Shad White, excuse me. Well, Michael Watson. I apologize. There's so many elected politicians in this world. Sometimes I get the name screwed up. We'll be all right. There are people out there. There's been some great memes, and I haven't talked about this, but I said I was going to the beginning. It's got a picture of Candace Owens, a nice picture, which I appreciate when you're memeing. I don't like using ugly pictures. This is nice. She's got her hair pulled back. She's got her hands up in a nice orange blazer, and she says this: "An Egyptian plane just flew over my house, releasing Mossad pigeons in maroon t-shirts, just as I was eating French toast. Trust me, bro." She is going deep end. Turning Point USA has a over 7-minute video basically telling Candace, stop. She is not correct. And I know that I have some of you out there who really love Candace, and you listen to her and you look up to her as a role model. And, we've had some great conversations on that. But I'm telling you, when it comes to this, she's wrong. And we have to come to a point to where, look, Turning Point's going to have to sue her. And I don't support going full legalese. I don't like that. It's not in my nature. But if they have to go out there and sue Candace, so be it. So be it. Somebody sent this to me. This is Senator Mark Kelly. I have not listened to it, but they told me to play it. So we are going to take a broadcasting risk here at WYAB. And without listening to it, let's listen to Captain Mark Kelly, and we'll break it down.
It's not about us. This is about a president who doesn't want anybody to say anything that he does not like. I don't think he understands the Constitution. I'm serious about this. I think he is ignorant to the Constitution and the rule of law. And he just wants to silence us, and it starts with us. And that's one of the reasons people say, well, why wouldn't you just back off? Because this isn't about me. This is about what he will do next. Who's he going to go after next? Which service member? Which government employee? Which citizen who decides to say something that this president doesn't like? And then he goes after them, in my case, with the Secretary of Defense. Who knows what's next? With the Attorney General? I mean, this DOJ has been just, attacking people for all kinds of stuff. And what's next? Our First Amendment rights? Ain't happening.
Man, that's like a whole hour of the Andrew Gosser show. This guy is a narcissist. There are people out there who have commented on Donald J. Trump, have critiqued Donald J. Trump, have pointed out where they disagreed with Donald J. Trump aggressively. And nothing's happened to them. Captain Mark Kelly, you are in trouble, not because you are not, or because they want to take away your First Amendment rights. Captain Mark Kelly, this country is paying you a retirement for your honorable military service. I will say it is honorable. But you, sir, just like me, fall under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And when you start going down the roads you've been going down, guess what? You are going to be confronted. And this president, with beyond all other presidents, loves to make a deal. And the bottom line is you can't even make a deal with you. You are violating the the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and to say that we're gonna, or the president or the DOJ is gonna go after and target individual service members, no. Follow the code. Honestly, honor, courage, and commitment, sir. Honor, courage, and commitment. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9. We're going to take our last commercial break of the day. We'll be right back. Get in there. Let's do this. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We've had a heck of a show. And now on my timeline, posted by Colonel Rob Maness, United States Air Force, honorably retired, wing commander, B-1 electronics officer, thousands of flight hours. He just posted this picture of this boat, high def, 1080p. I am sharing this on my X account right now. You've got to see it. To these crazy congressmen and senators who are calling this a fishing boat, I want to know, are you using the crack? Are you using the cocaine? Are you using the fentanyl on this boat that just got blown to smithereens? This is not a fishing boat. That's what I'm typing. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that there are so many people listening to the show who have wide varying opinions from the right to the left, but we all got two eyes. And you can look at this boat and say it's a fishing boat. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to catch up on, and it's the last thing that we got time for today. Do you know that there are things in war, there are categories of war where you have lawful combatants because you wear a uniform. It displays your nationality. There are other things that mark you as a combatant of war. These narco terrorists do not wear uniforms. They do not follow the Geneva Convention. They do not follow the laws of armed conflict. They do not get the same protections that a country's navy would get. And if they get blown to smithereens because they're in a boat like this, well, you know what? Maybe they should think about their life choices. Maybe they should think about perhaps finding a new line of work, because if you are leaving South America anywhere and you are in a high-speed boat like this and you are racing towards the United States of America, well, the United States military's got a little something for you, whether it be the United States Navy, whether it be the United States Marine Corps, whether it be the United States Air Force, or whether it be the United States Coast Guard. People say, Andy, you didn't mention the United States Army. Don't worry, they're there. They're getting ready to do a little something. I love the United States Army. I got to deploy with you guys, Camp Phoenix. Straight up. Ooh, I almost said a bad word. I almost had to hit the deedle button on myself, ladies and gentlemen. They are a bunch of professional men and women who know how to bring it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the Andrew Gosser Show for today, the 4th of December. We are just getting fired up. There's so much more. Stay tuned to WYAB. We are going to continue to talk about the news of the day with the Lindsey Beckham Show. Take care, everybody. Be blessed.